Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unit 2. We are about to listen to the Four Freedoms speech, which was a speech that Franklin Delano Roosevelt gave as the State of the Union in 1941, and we're going to use it as our first source to help us answer the essay question at the end of the unit, which is you're going to be able to answer one of two of these questions. You choose which one you want, which is, what does it mean to be free? Which is simple. What does it mean to be free? Again, it's not just what you think it means to be free, and that's going to be important, and you're going to put a lot of that into your essay. But you also have to fuse your answer with experts' answers and stories and whatnot. In this case, the first source we're going to use is FDR's Four Freedoms speech, and you're going to find some quotes to help you to answer that question, what does it mean to be free? The second question that you can choose to answer if you don't like what does it mean to be free is, how can one person defend the rights of many other people? So how can one person help other people to be free? So you're either going to be answering, what does it mean to be free? Or how can one person help other people be free or defend their rights to be free? Now, this speech is going to give us tons of quotes that are going to help us to answer either question, because this speech is all about freedoms. It's called the Four Freedoms speech. In fact, let me tell you about it. I'm going to read the background information in a minute, but basically, this is right before World War I, when Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were taking over a lot of Europe and whatnot. And a lot of Americans at this point were saying, whatever, not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. This is happening over in Europe. He's taking over other countries. What do we care? He's not taking over America. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt is going to say, no, we need to step up. We need to build up our military. We need to get strong, and we need to defend not only ourselves against these Adolf Hitler and these monsters, these dictators, but also we need to defend other countries as well, because the minute that he takes over all the rest of the world, he's going to get stronger and he's going to come after us. So according to FDR, what does it mean to be free? You got to be strong. You got to be tough. You got to stand up for yourself, and you got to stand up for other people. You can't let bad nations bully other little nations, because they'll suck them up. They'll take all their resources and they'll get stronger. So you're going to come up with, again, same thing as we did for the other sources for our fear unit, for Pitt and the Pendulum and House Taken Over. Today, your assignment is to do annotations. So I'm going to ask you to do 3 to 5 annotations from the part 1 reading of the Four Freedoms speech, and you're going to fill it into your annotation sheet. Allow me to show it to you right now. Let me present it. It's going to look very similar as the other ones did, because we've done this before. Here it is right now. You are going to fill in 3 or 5 quotes. So on the left side, you'll say, consider the following quote. You'll put it in. You'll cite it correctly. You can either cite the page number or the title of the source, which is just the Four Freedoms speech. And then on the right, you're going to say, this quote clearly shows how, and then we're going to be talking about freedom, how one person can defend the rights of all people, how he believed you had to do this in order to be free. So we'll do that as we're going on. So allow me to go back to myself so you can see me presenting to this. Okay, stop presenting. Excellent. So I'm going to tell you now, I have broken this Four Freedoms speech into 3 different readings. I'm going to read today about 10 or 15 minutes, about 2.5 pages of the speech. I'll stop. I'll show you what I think are good quotes. I'll type 1 or 2 into them, just like before. Of course, you do not have to use the quotes that I type in. You can use your own quotes. And make your own annotations, but of course you can copy mine as well. So let's go. Let's first do the background. I'll read the background for you. This is found on page 269 of your textbook. So let's see the background. Roosevelt gave the speech as a State of the Union address in 1941, following his 1940 election as a 3rd term as president. At that time, much of the world was in turmoil as Nazi Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, had already invaded Norway, Belgium, the Netherlands, and France, and he attacked Great Britain. A significant number of Americans wanted to remain uninvolved in the war, insisting that problems overseas did not affect the United States. However, others felt that German aggression threatened democracy throughout the world and that Hitler must be stopped. So again, some Americans were like, whatever, dude, let him just do what he's doing. He's not bothering us. In one way, there's a word for that. It's called appeasing. It's allowing other people to do evil things because it's not really bothering you. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt is going to say, no, we cannot allow this evil to be taking place. We have to step up to it. So let's go. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, members of the 77th Congress. I address you, the members of the 77th Congress, at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. I use the word unprecedented because at no previous time has American security been as seriously threatened from without as it is today. That is a really great quote. Listen to this. I use the word unprecedented because at no previous time has American security been as seriously threatened from without as it is today. So what he's saying, and let's put this down as our first quote. Allow me to present it to you. I'm going to put it down as my first quote. Of course, you don't have to, but I like it because it's him describing that never before has America really been in danger of being attacked before like this. We need to step up is what he's saying, because our freedoms are going to be taken away from us if we don't. So let's type this in. Consider the following quote. Let me type this correctly, capital I use the word unprecedented, comma, because at no previous time has American security been as seriously threatened, you guys can do it better than me. You can open up the text, and because I'm reading from paper right here, but you're going to have the unit textbook in front of you as an online source, so you can copy and paste these. Are going to be a lot easier. But if you type it out, no big deal, like I'm doing it now. Seriously threatened from without. Seriously threatened. Let's spell this correctly. Threatened. Threatened from without. As it is today. So I'm going to close my quote. Remember, no period yet. Then I put my parentheses, and I'm going to put the page number, 269. Then I close my parentheses, and then I put my period for the end of this sentence. So let's put an annotation. This quote clearly shows that FDR believed that the U.S. had to act, or it could be attacked. Oh, I spelled attacked wrong. Hold on. It could be attacked or even conquered. So he's saying never before in our lives as Americans have we ever had this great big problem. So let me go back. All right. Let's stop presenting. Now let's share. Now let's stop presenting so you can hear me. And let's go. Okay. Since the permanent formation of our government under the Constitution in 1789, most of the periods of crisis in our history have related to our domestic affairs. Fortunately, only one of these, the 4-year war between the states, ever threatened our national unity. So what he's saying is Americans, we've never had to worry about somebody attacking us and taking us over. In fact, the only real problems we've had up until now have been within the country. And then he mentions the Civil War. He said that almost destroyed us as a country, and it almost did. It came very close to doing that. But he's saying now we have to worry about other countries out there coming in and taking us over and then taking over our freedoms. Okay, let's continue. It is true. Today, thank God, 130 million Americans in 48 states have forgotten points of the compass in our national unity. It is true that prior to 1914, the United States often had been disturbed by events in other continents. We had even been engaged in 2 wars with European nations and in a number of undeclared wars in the West Indies, in the Mediterranean, and in the Pacific for the maintenance of American rights and for the principles of peaceful commerce. But in no case had a serious threat been raised against our national security or our continued independence. So he said, yeah, we did fight World War I and these other wars, but if we lost, it wouldn't have affected our country. It only would have affected the places where the people were being attacked. He said, but now, if we don't stop this from happening, they're going to come to us and they're going to kill us. They're going to take away our freedoms. Listen. What I seek to convey is the historic truth that the United States as a nation has at all times maintained clear, definitive opposition to any attempt to lock us in behind an ancient Chinese wall while the procession of civilization went past. Today, thinking of our children and of their children, we oppose enforced isolation for ourselves or for any other part of the Americas. That is a cool quote. Allow me to present that to you very quickly. So let me open it up. Let me go back to your homework assignment, and let's type this in. So this quote, I'm going to say, this is evident in the following quote, and I'm going to put quotation marks, and I'm going to say, we oppose, let's see, where is it? We oppose enforced isolation for ourselves or any other part of the Americas. Any other part of the Americas. Now, again, I don't put a period at the end of my quote. I close my quote, I put a space, then I put my parentheses, and I put the page number. So I know from page 270, I can find this quote. Then I put a period. One more thing. Notice the beginning of the quote, I'm starting in the middle of a sentence. So I don't want to start a quote with a lowercase we. So I put the ... before my lowercase we. It's called an ellipsis. And that shows me that there are words before that I just didn't include in my quote. So again, my quote is, we oppose enforced isolation for ourselves or any other part of the Americas. And what he's saying here, this quote clearly shows that FDR believes nobody or no other countries can keep America out of world affairs. In other words, we're not going to let people say this isn't your business because it's happening all the way over here in Germany. Because, and I'm going to say it right now, he believed that America needs to keep itself in all world affairs. In other words, I'm going to put it in parentheses, don't let other countries try and take over the whole world. Perfect. I mean, imagine if he lets other countries take over the whole, right now, if he had allowed Adolf Hitler to take over all of Europe and then all of Asia and then all of Africa and then Australia, where would Hitler have come next? He would have come to the Americas and he would have taken over us. And at this point in time, he's not strong enough to do that. But if we allow him to keep getting stronger and stronger and build up his military and take over more and more countries, then we're not going to be able to stop him. And that's what FDR is saying right here. So let's go back. Allow me to share this, stop presenting, and continue reading. Okay. That determination of ours, extending all over these years, was proved, for example, during the quarter century of wars following the French Revolution. While the Napoleonic struggles did threaten the interests of the United States because of the French foothold in the West Indies and in Louisiana, and while we engaged in the War of 1812 to vindicate our right to peaceful trade, it is nevertheless clear that neither France nor Great Britain nor any other nation was aiming at domination of the whole world. So he said, yes, we've seen other countries take over little countries, but we didn't stop them because their goal wasn't to take over the whole world. Okay, so if Britain takes over one little colony in Africa, we're not going to get into a war for that because it doesn't threaten us or the world. But if we noticed that Great Britain was trying to take over the entire world, country by country, then we would have had to step up because eventually they would come for us. Let's continue. In like fashion, from 1815 to 1914, 99 years, no single war in Europe or in Asia constituted a real threat against our future or against the future of any other American nation. So that's why we didn't get into those wars, because it wasn't a threat to us. Listen. Except in the Maximilian interlude in Mexico, no foreign power sought to establish itself in this hemisphere. And the strength of the British fleet in the Atlantic has been a friendly strength. It is still a friendly strength. And another reason why we don't worry about Britain and their strong navy is because they're our allies, and they're not going to try to take us over or any of our allies. Listen. Even when the World War broke out in 1914, it seemed to contain only small threat of danger to our own American future. But as time went on, the American people began to visualize what the downfall of democratic nations might mean to our own democracy. So World War I, at first it didn't seem so bad, but then we started to realize, wait a minute, if we don't stop them right now, I believe it was Russia, if we don't stop them, they might get too strong and then try to take us over. We need not overemphasize imperfections of the Peace of Versailles. We need not harp on failures of democracies to deal with the problems of world reconstruction. We should remember that the Peace of 19 was at far less unjust than the kind of pacification which began even before Munich and which is being carried on under the new order of tyranny that seeks to spread every other continent today. The American people have unalterably set their faces against that tyranny. Every realist knows that the democratic way of life is at this moment being directly assailed in every part of the world, assailed either by arms or by secret spreading of poisonous propaganda, by those who seek to destroy unity and promote discord in nations that are still at peace. That is a good quote. Look, paragraph 12, the first sentence. Every realist knows that the democratic way of life is at this moment being directly assailed in every part of the world. So I'm not going to type in that quote anymore. Now it's time for you to do your own typing, but I will tell you, top of paragraph 12, that first sentence is genius. Listen to it. Every realist knows that the democratic way of life is at this moment being directly assailed in every part of the world. So what he's saying is you can't deny that Hitler is trying to take over the world right now. So I would write that quote, and then that would say this quote clearly shows that Hitler was trying to take over the world and we needed to step up to him. Let's continue. Assailed either by arms or by secret spreading of poisonous propaganda by those who seek to destroy unity and promote discord in nations that are still at peace. This next paragraph, I have the entire thing underlined, paragraph 13. It's 2 long sentences, would be a great quote. Listen. During 16 long months, this assault has blotted out the whole pattern of democratic life in an appalling number of independent nations, great and small. The assailants are still on the march, threatening other nations, great and small. So what he just said was, and this is a good quote, you can use this. This quote clearly shows that Hitler is trying to take over the world because he just said this assault has blotted out the whole pattern of democratic life in an appalling number of independent nations. In other words, Hitler has taken over independent nations. He has taken their freedom. And if we sit back and do nothing, we're going to be next. Listen. Oh, and by the way, I think FDR was probably right about this. Hitler's idea was to take over the world. And thank gosh that FDR stood up to that, got everybody in America to say, no, let's fight these guys. Listen, therefore, as your president, I only have 3 more paragraphs for this reading. Therefore, as your president, performing my constitutional duty to give to the Congress information of the State of the Union, I find it unhappily necessary to report that the future and the safety of our country and of our democracy are overwhelmingly involved in events beyond our borders. Armed defense of democratic existence is now being gallantly waged in 4 continents. If that defense fails, all the population and all the resources of Europe and Asia and Africa and Australia will be dominated by conquerors. So he's saying right now, they're fighting wars. They're taking over countries in these other continents. Listen, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. Hitler is taking over these countries. And if we sit back, he's going to get so strong, we're not going to be able to stop him. Listen. Let us remember that the total of those populations and their resources in those 4 continents greatly exceed the sum and the total population and the resources of the whole of the Western Hemisphere many times over. So if Hitler is able to control all those countries, he's going to have more men, more money, more weapons, more resources than even us. So we've got to stop him now before he gets too strong. Listen. In times like these, and by the way, this is the last paragraph, and I have it underlined, paragraph 16. This is a great quote. Listen. In times like these, it is immature and incidentally untrue for anybody to brag that an unprepared America, single-handed and with one hand tied behind its back, can hold off the whole world. Great quote. So consider the following quote. Listen. In times like these, it is immature and incidentally untrue for anybody to brag that an unprepared America, single-handed and with one hand tied behind its back, can hold off the whole world. So this note clearly shows, this quote clearly shows that FDR understood that we need to stop them before they get too strong, or we're all going to be taken over. We're going to lose all our freedoms. He's going to kill us all. He's going to enslave us all. That's the end of part 1 reading. You should have. I know I typed 2 quotes and I pointed out several other quotes, at least 3 more. Good quote in paragraph 12. Great quote, the entire paragraph 13. And the entire paragraph for 16 is also a fantastic quote. Really good job today, everybody, on part 1. We'll pick up part 2 tomorrow. Thank you very much.